Captain William Ironhand Carter opened his eyes to white ceiling tiles and the antiseptic smell of a hospital room. His head throbbed with a dull, persistent ache. "Mr. Carter, can you hear me?" A woman's voice. He turned his head slowly and saw a doctor standing beside his bed. She was young, with auburn hair pulled back and tired eyes. "Where am I?" His voice came out rough. "St. Michael's Hospital in Portland. You've been unconscious for 3 days. Do you remember what happened?" Carter's mind felt like it was swimming through thick fog. "The submarine. We were going down, the hull breach. I had to get them out." The doctor's expression shifted. "Mr. Carter, I'm Dr. Sarah Mendez. You weren't in a submarine. You had a stroke while teaching your afternoon literature class at Roosevelt High School." The words hit him like a physical blow. "What? No. I'm Captain Carter. USS Barracuda. We were at 400 meters when the torpedo hit." "William." Dr. Mendez's voice was gentle but firm. "You haven't been in the Navy for 30 years? You're a high school English teacher. You've been teaching at Roosevelt for 15 years. Carter's hands gripped the blanket. "You're wrong. I remember everything. Lieutenant Hayes at sonar, Rodriguez at the helm, Morrison in the engine room. I remember their faces. These false memories are a side effect of your stroke," Dr. Mendez interrupted. "The temporal lobe was affected. It's called confabulation." A nurse entered. "Dr. Mendez, his sister is here." A woman in her late 50s rushed to his bedside, tears streaming. "William! Oh God, you scared me to death." Carter stared at her. Something about her face was familiar, but distantly so. I don't... It's me, Margaret, your sister." Her voice broke. "You don't remember me?" The fog in Carter's mind thickened. He could see the woman's genuine distress, but overlapping that reality was another set of memories, equally vivid. Standing in a submarine control room, making life-or-death decisions, feeling the crushing pressure of the ocean above. "I remember a submarine," he said quietly. "I was the captain. We were running silent. Something went wrong. The hull integrity was compromised. I had to make a choice." Margaret looked at Dr. Mendez with confusion. "He's never talked about submarines. He's terrified of deep water." Dr. Mendez made notes. "The mind creates narratives to fill gaps. The brain can construct elaborate false memories. They feel completely real." Carter closed his eyes. In the darkness, he could see it clearly. Red emergency lighting, water rushing into compartments, terrified faces looking to him for orders, Hayes gripping the sonar station. "Captain, we're taking on water. We're going down." And his own voice. "SEAL sections 3 through 7. Everyone forward." "But sir, Morrison and 6 others are still back there." "Do it, now." The bulkhead doors slamming, muffled screams, terrible silence. Carter's eyes snapped open. Breath coming in, gasps. "I killed them. 7 men. I sealed them in. Morrison was pounding on the door, screaming my name." Margaret squeezed his hand. "William, you're a teacher. You've never hurt anyone. These memories aren't real. They feel real," Carter whispered. Over the next days, Carter met with neurologists and psychiatrists. They showed him documentation, teaching credentials, tax returns, photographs at school events. His apartment was filled with books and student papers, no evidence of military service, no connection to any USS Barracuda. "Look," Margaret said, showing him a photo album. "Your 50th birthday. See? Your colleagues from Roosevelt, Principal Henderson." Carter stared at the photographs. He recognized none of the faces, yet there he was, smiling. In one photo, cutting a cake, in another, laughing. The man looked happy, but that man was a stranger. "I don't remember any of this. The stroke affected your recent memory," Dr. Mendez explained. "But the submarine narrative isn't real. Your brain is creating a story to make sense of the confusion." Yet every night, Carter was back on the Barracuda. He felt the cold metal, smelled the oil and fear, heard Hayes reporting depth, tasted the recycled air, and always he heard Morrison pounding on that sealed door. After 2 weeks, they released him to Margaret's care. His apartment was filled with someone else's life. Bookshelves held poetry and classic literature. The desk had student essays waiting to be graded. On the refrigerator were photos: Carter at the Grand Canyon, Carter with his book club, Carter receiving a teaching award. "You won Teacher of the Year 3 years ago," Margaret said. "You were so proud." Carter touched the photograph. The man looked genuinely happy, but Carter felt nothing. "I need to find them," he said suddenly. "Find who?" "My crew. Hayes, Rodriguez, Morrison. I need to know if they made it." Margaret's face fell. "William, they're not real." But Carter couldn't accept it. He began researching submarines, naval history, any vessel called USS Barracuda. He found records of submarines with that name, but none matched his memories. The timelines were wrong. The crew rosters didn't include the names he remembered. Dr. Mendez called it an obsession. "You're trying to validate memories that don't exist. You need to let this go." "What if these are my real memories?" Carter countered. "What if everything else is the fabrication?" His psychiatrist, Dr. Torres, listened patiently as Carter described his submarine memories in detail. "Describe your crew's faces," Dr. Torres said. Carter closed his eyes. Hayes had a scar above his left eyebrow. Bar fight in Manila. Rodriguez cracked his knuckles during silent running. Morrison had a photo of his daughter at his station. 7 years old, blonde pigtails. Yet you recognize none of your students in photographs. Because they're not my students. William, you taught some of those students for 3 years. You knew their names, wrote recommendation letters. How could you do that if you weren't really a teacher? Carter had no answer. One sleepless night, he searched the desk drawers. Among teaching materials, he found a leather journal filled with his handwriting. Then, near the back, something that made his blood run cold. An entry from 3 months before his stroke. Had the dream again. Always the same. "I'm a submarine captain. There's an emergency. I choose who lives and dies. When I wake up, I still hear them screaming. Morrison screaming my name. It felt too real. Dr. Bennett says they're stress dreams, but they're getting more frequent, more vivid. Sometimes I'm not sure which life is the dream. Teaching Hemingway, or commanding men in the ocean depths." Carter stared at the page, trembling. He flipped through more entries. "Another dream. Hayes at sonar when the torpedo hit. I can see his face so clearly. Can't shake the feeling I'm supposed to be somewhere else, doing something more important." Margaret asked why I seemed distracted. How can I explain I feel like I'm living someone else's life? The submarine memories had been building for months. They weren't created by the stroke. They'd been there all along. Dr. Torres was intrigued. These weren't memories created by the stroke. The stroke may have simply strengthened them. Or, Carter said, the stroke damaged whatever was keeping my real memories suppressed. There's still no evidence you were in the Navy. Then how do I know things I shouldn't? Carter pulled out his notebook. The Barracuda, I remember, was a modified Sturgeon class with special quiet propulsion. I can describe the exact control room layout, the protocols for emergency dives, the recognition codes. You could have researched that after the stroke. I can tell you what it feels like past crush depth, the specific hull sound, how pressure affects your inner ear, temperature drop at depth, how stale air tastes when CO2 scrubbers are maxed. Could I read that online? Dr. Torres was quiet. The brain is capable of extraordinary things, William. It can construct entire worlds from fragments. But Carter wasn't convinced. Late one night, staring at his bathroom mirror, Carter saw his 53-year-old face, but when he closed his eyes and reached for his deepest sense of self, he felt younger, stronger, battle-hardened. He opened his eyes. In the mirror's reflection, just for an instant, he saw not a bathroom but captain's quarters on a submarine. Himself in naval uniform, the weight of command in his eyes, then gone. Carter made a decision. He told everyone what they wanted to hear. Yes, he was remembering his real life. Yes, the submarine memories were fading. Yes, he was ready to return to work. They were relieved. Dr. Mendez reduced his medication. Dr. Torres scheduled sessions further apart. Margaret talked about him moving back to his apartment. But Carter was lying. The submarine memories were growing stronger, and he'd noticed inconsistencies in his supposed life. The Grand Canyon photo, shadows were wrong for the timestamp. The handwriting on student essays, it matched his, but felt performative. His colleagues, when he asked about shared experiences, their answers were vague, generic. It was like a carefully constructed set. Everything looked right on the surface, but nothing had depth. One afternoon, Carter broke into his apartment. He searched systematically. In the bedroom closet, beneath a loose floorboard, he found a metal lockbox. Inside, discharge papers from the United States Navy. Name, William Carter. Rank, Commander. Service, 23 years. Commendations, letters of recommendation. A photograph of him in uniform, submarine in the background. His hands shook. The documents felt real. Also inside, a sealed envelope marked, "Open in emergency." Carter broke the seal. The handwriting was his own. "If you're reading this, they got to you. They gave you the treatment. Everything they're telling you is a lie. You are Commander William Carter. You were captain of the USS Barracuda. There was an incident during a classified mission. You made a decision that saved most of your crew but cost 7 lives, including Chief Petty Officer Daniel Morrison. But that's not why they did this. They did it because of what you found, what you discovered on that last mission. They can't let you remember. The medication isn't treating a stroke. It's maintaining memory suppression. Your sister isn't your sister. She's an asset. You have to get to the coordinates. 42 degree, 68 degree, 600 meters down. That's where the truth is. That's where the Barracuda waits. Don't trust them. Don't take the medication. Don't let them give you the second treatment." Carter read it 3 times. Either proof his submarine memories were real, or proof his delusions were deeper than anyone realized. He heard a key in the door. Moving quickly, Carter returned the lockbox and stood as Margaret entered. "William, what are you doing here?" He studied her expression. "I wanted time in my own space." She smiled, but something in her eyes made him uneasy. "That's good. It means you're healing." She moved closer. "Did you take your medication?" "Yes," he lied. "Good. Consistency is important. We don't want another episode." That night, Carter didn't take his medication. He flushed the pills and went to bed. As sleep approached, the boundary between waking and dreaming felt different, sharper. Then he was there, on the Barracuda. This time more real than ever. Cold metal deck, recycled air, machine oil, the quiet hum of systems. Hayes was at sonar, Rodriguez at helm, Morrison in engineering. "Captain, you're back," Hayes said, relief evident. "We thought we'd lost you." "How long was I gone?" 3 weeks, sir, since the incident." "What incident?" Hayes and Rodriguez exchanged glances. "The discovery. What we found at the coordinates." And suddenly, Carter remembered. Not fragments, but complete truth. They detected something massive moving at extreme depth, something impossible. They'd followed it, descending past rated depth. At 600 meters, they'd found it. A structure, an installation, not human, not anything that should exist. Before they could surface and report, they'd been intercepted by their own Navy. They'd been told what they'd seen was classified beyond top secret, that they'd be debriefed and returned to duty. But the debriefing had been something else, something called memory remediation. "They're keeping us here," Morrison said, appearing though he should be in engineering. "All of us. This submarine isn't real, not anymore. It's a memory construct, a holding pattern while they figure out what to do with the physical bodies." Carter looked around with new understanding. The control room wasn't perfectly accurate. Small inconsistencies, details that didn't match. It was a memory of a submarine, filtered through imperfect recollection. Where are we, really? In a facility, underground. Medically induced comas while they try to erase what we know. They've been feeding us false memories. Yours is a teacher. Hayes is an accountant. Rodriguez is a mechanic. Why can I still remember? Because we're fighting it, Hayes said. The 7 of us who saw what was down there. We're holding on to each other, keeping our real memories alive. But it's getting harder. Every treatment cycle, the fake memories get stronger. How do I get us out? You have to wake up, Morrison said. Really wake up. Not just open your eyes in whatever scenario they've put you in, but break through the sedation, and do it soon. They're planning a second treatment, the final wipe. After that, we're gone. Carter wanted to ask more, but the submarine memory was fading. He felt himself pulled back toward consciousness. He woke in bed, the apartment he didn't remember choosing. Early morning. Margaret would arrive soon to check his medication to reinforce the teacher narrative. Carter dressed quickly, packed essentials, took the discharge papers and letter, left before Margaret arrived. He had to reach those coordinates. 42 Degen, 68 Degen, 600 meters down, where the real Barracuda waited. At a Portland marina, he found boat captain Dutch Calloway, who specialized in deep-sea excursions. When Carter approached, Dutch studied him. "You're Carter. Commander Carter." Carter's pulse quickened. "You know me? Served under you, briefly, on the Providence before you got your own command." He paused. "Heard rumors about the Barracuda crew. Heard you boys found something. Heard they disappeared you." He spat into the water. "Navy says the Barracuda was decommissioned, but my sources say that submarine's sitting at the bottom of the Atlantic, right where you boys last dove. Will you take me there?" Dutch considered it. "Navy waters, restricted zone. We'd be breaking 15 laws." "I know. And there might be things down there the government really doesn't want people seeing." "I know that too." Dutch smiled. "I always wanted to know what kind of secret was worth disappearing an entire crew. Let's go." 3 days later, they floated above the coordinates in Dutch's exploration vessel, equipped with deep-sea sonar and a submersible capable of reaching depths beyond 600 meters. "Got a hit," Dutch said, studying sonar. "Large metallic object, 600 meters, exactly where you said." They prepped the two-person submersible. Dutch piloted while Carter observed, heart hammering as they descended. The ocean darkened. 200 meters, 300, 400. At 500 meters, their lights picked up something below, a shape, massive and unmistakable. The USS Barracuda. She rested on the ocean floor, partially buried but mostly intact. Her hull showed damage, not from enemy attack, but controlled scuttling. They'd sunk her deliberately. "Jesus," Dutch whispered. "She's really here." Carter pressed against the viewport, staring at his ship. Every rivet, every weld, exactly as he remembered. "Take us closer." They maneuvered toward the control room section. Through the viewport, Carter saw the interior through a hull rupture. Flooded, dark, but their lights revealed the control room was empty. No bodies. "They got them out before sinking her," Dutch said. "Your crew? They're somewhere else." Carter knew where. In that facility. Underground. Kept in comas while psychologists tried to erase their memories. "We need to go deeper." "Deeper? We're at 600. This submersible isn't rated past 800. The thing we found was below us. Another 100 meters down." Dutch hesitated, then nodded. "Your funeral." They descended past the Barracuda. 700 meters, 750, 800. "That's our limit." Just a little further. At 820 meters, sonar detected it, a massive structure embedded in the ocean floor. As lights swept across it, Carter saw something impossible. A door, not a rock formation. An actual manufactured door, easily 50 meters across, made of dark metallic substance that reflected their lights with oily, iridescent sheen. Around the door were symbols in no language Carter recognized. From the door came a low, resonant vibration they could feel through the submersible's walls. "What the hell?" Dutch's voice was barely a whisper. "That's what we found. That's what the Barracuda discovered. That's what they couldn't let anyone know." The communications system crackled. A voice, distorted by depth, but recognizable. "Commander Carter, this is Admiral Pearson, Naval Intelligence. Surface immediately. You're in restricted waters investigating classified materials." Carter picked up the microphone. "How long have you known this was here?" A pause. "Long enough. Decades. We know what it is. We know what's inside. And we know why it can never be opened. Then why suppress my crew's memories? Because 7 men knowing is 7 too many. Because this discovery has implications that would fundamentally alter human civilization. Some things are too dangerous to know. And you get to decide that?" "Yes, Commander. That's exactly what we decide." Communication cut off. Dutch's sonar lit up. "Shit! 3 vessels. Military. Coming fast." Carter stared at the massive door, at the incomprehensible symbols, at proof that everything humanity thought it knew was incomplete. "We need to surface," Dutch said, "before they make us disappear." Carter knew he was right, but he also knew that once in Navy custody, they'd finish the job. The second treatment, final memory wipe. He'd become William Carter, the teacher, living someone else's memories. Unless. How much battery left? Maybe 40 minutes. Why? Because I'm not going back. Carter grabbed the external camera controls and began recording. The door, symbols, sonar readings, depth measurements, everything. He uploaded it to an encrypted server he'd set up, using Dutch's satellite uplink. "What are you doing?" "Making sure the truth gets out, even if they erase me again. This video, these measurements, they'll be online. Encrypted but findable." Dutch watched, understanding dawning. "They're gonna bury us." "Probably, but at least we tried." They ascended. On sonar, military vessels closed in. Carter kept recording until Navy divers reached them on the surface and placed him in restraints. As they led him away, sedating him, Carter's last thought was of his crew. He hoped that somehow, through this defiance, he'd given them a chance, that when they woke up in their false lives, they might find his evidence, might remember who they were, might fight back against the dream. When Carter opened his eyes again, he was in a hospital room. White tiles, antiseptic smell, heart monitor beeping. Dr. Mendez stood beside his bed. "Mr. Carter, can you hear me?" "Where am I?" "St. Michael's Hospital. You've been unconscious 3 days. Do you remember what happened?" Carter remembered. The apartment, the teaching career, the sister named Margaret, the false life. But he also remembered the Barracuda, his crew, the door at the bottom of the ocean. "I'm Captain William Carter," he said calmly, "and I remember everything." Dr. Mendez's expression hardened. "I see. The second treatment didn't take. That's unfortunate." She turned to someone unseen. "Prep him for round 3. Increase the dosage." As sedatives flowed into his IV, Carter smiled. Because somewhere online, encrypted and waiting, was proof, and sooner or later, someone would find it. Someone would see those videos and realize the ocean floor held secrets that couldn't be suppressed forever. The door was real. The Barracuda was real. His crew was real. And even if they turned him into William Carter, the teacher, 1,000 times over, even if they buried his memories under layers of false ones, the truth was out there. The truth was waiting. And doors, Carter thought as consciousness slipped away, are meant to be opened.